official day of my internship. Trying to catch the metro. It is packed. Morning time is usually busiest, and obviously we get off work. So, yeah. So, if you don't know, I was actually in Japan for an internship. I know I've been showing all the fun videos and like the things that I did in my spare time, but the intention was a little more educational, you know, a little more business-like. And I actually thought about this for a while. I wanted to make this video, and then I thought maybe I shouldn't, just because it wasn't the best experience. But it was an experience. And when I say experience, I mean like when people say bless your heart, but in experience form. So, but I feel like as a business, if you're going to take on individuals to do work for you, you have to understand that there will be feedback and there will be criticism and there will be compliments and all this jazz. The plan was, you know, to vlog about it like weekly or daily, but I decided that I wasn't going to do that while I was there, and I have several reasons why I didn't do that, and hopefully it'll make sense after I tell you about my experience there. This internship was a 6-week long internship in which I signed a contract in January. I was told that essentially I would be doing social media work and I would be debugging their website and essentially helping them with their website. Now, obviously, as someone who's been doing social media work and has an interest in webpage development, I was like, okay, this is going to be like a really, really great internship. I'm going to be able to get my hands dirty. I'm going to be able to do all these things, but it was a pretty lackluster experience, and it was probably one of the worst work experiences of my life. Internship while I was in university, because I needed to work, and working 40 hours for free versus working and getting paid to pay rent and eating, you know. So, but I was excited, you know, my first internship, and things weren't that good. And I should have, personally, I feel like I should have known from like day one that this was probably going to be something else, because that was a mess. Day one was a mess. Just break it down for you how the internship was gonna go. So I would commute from my residency about 30 to 40 minutes, maybe more, depending on what happened that day, weather, etc., on the metro. I woke up early, you know, I did a little bit of light makeup. I was just excited, you know, and I got on the metro. I did not beat the morning rush though, so it was kind of a packed ride, and let me tell you, you don't want to be on the metro at rush hour. Get on the metro, finally get to Ginza, which is where I work, and I go to the building that I'm supposed to be at. I actually found the building previously during the weekend, so I wouldn't get lost. Go me. But that all went down the toilet, so I show up to the building, go to the room. I am greeted by a lady, and she's like, oh, this is the right building, this is the right room, but they no longer have their business here. They like moved out several months ago to some other place. Somewhere over here is what she told me. She like got me outside. She was like, this is the right building, this is the right address, but they're not here anymore. They're somewhere over here. And that's it, like, you know. So I'm like, okay, thank you. I guess I gotta go find this building, and first of all, it was hot. It was really hot. It was early in the morning. And so I'm looking for this building, and I'm starting to freak out because I don't like being late, especially like first day. First impressions matter. I'm trying to make a good impression, and I'm super anxious already. Like, I'm in a place I don't know anyone. My Japanese is not that good. I know very minimal Japanese. And I'm just trying to make it through this day. Like this day, like if I make it through this day, then I'm good for the rest of the time I'm here. And yeah, so I get lost looking for this building, and I'm super frustrated, and it's hot, and I essentially like find the building, and I'm like, okay, good, and then it's locked. The building is locked. At this point, I just I'm done. Like my mental and emotional capacity, like I'm so frustrated that I start crying. Um, first things first, I message my residency program director, and I tell him like, hey, I just want you to know that I showed up for my job on time, but all this stuff happened and I got lost and I finally found the building and the building was locked, blah blah blah. And then I contact my supervisor, and I get no reply back, and I'm contacting him from every channel that I have for him. I finally, after maybe an hour, and this does not include the time that I was walking around, this includes the time after I found the building and I'm in front of the building, I get a reply, and it's from my second supervisor, who was listed in my contract, and she's like, hey, sorry, the building's locked, everyone's working from home today. Essentially, I was told that she had no idea about my existence, and I was also told that later on that none of the employees knew about my existence, so I was just a surprise. My first boss, my main boss, let's just call him D, because his name starts with a D. So, my boss, her name starts with an A, so we'll just call her A. So A didn't know about my existence or anything, and she apologized, and she's like, just go home, I'm sorry, I didn't know about you, blah blah, and come back tomorrow. I'm like, okay. So D never told anybody about my internship or my existence or anything, so I'm just like, oh, okay. So I went through all this emotional stress for no reason, and yeah, so I literally just went back to my residency and took out everything and just went to sleep, because I slept the whole day. I just could not deal with anything. I was just done. I was done for the day. It was a hot mess. So yeah. So after my first day being a nightmare, I went back the next day, and things were okay. Then it's the first week. We had a meeting that night, and with all the people in the program, and we talked about our experiences, and I was like, hey, I showed up, they weren't even ready for me, blah blah blah. Did they send a notification that I was coming? And I was told that they did indeed email or send out some sort of reminder that interns were coming. So I was like, okay, so we got a reminder, but it is what it is. And so the first week, I literally did nothing. I did nothing. Show up in the office. A hits me up in Slack, and she goes over company, information about the company, what the company does, all that jazz. And essentially for that first week, I am doing nothing because they weren't ready for me. They didn't have anything for me to do, so I don't know if I should name the company, to be honest, but we're gonna call it Wildalist. Second week, they give me a list of, second week comes around, they give me a list of things to do on Wednesday of the second week, which is fine, but that's when the issues start popping up, during this internship. So they wanted me to do social media. So I'm like, okay, cool. But a lot of the things that I needed to get into accounts, I wasn't even able to get into accounts. I wasn't able to get information that I needed to complete my job or do what I needed to do, because the account passwords and logins were out of date and not correct. So yeah, so A is like, okay, let me hit up D for this information. Now, if you're wondering where D is in all of this mess, well, he was in the US at the time, and quite frankly, he was on vacation in the US and essentially forgot that I existed and that my internship was coming up. Like, point blank, period. Like, that's essentially what was going on. So she would have to, she would have to like hit him up, wait for him to respond, and then get back to me, and it was such a lengthy process. Every single social media account that I needed, maybe until the 4th week that I was there. But in the meantime, she was like, you know, you can make some videos for us. So I made videos for the company to use to promote job openings. Essentially, the company I worked for did recruiting and consulting. And the thing that really, one of the things that stood out for me is that the CEO, D, didn't want those terms necessarily associated with the company, even though that's what the company did. Like, I don't know. But that's what the company was about. They would help MBAs get jobs at Big Four companies and help Big Four companies find top-notch employees. So, you know, recruiting, consulting type of business. And so I would make videos for them to promote some of the positions that they had openings for. And that's literally what I spent most of my time doing, making these short videos, because like I said, they were not ready for me, and I really honestly think they were just giving me busy work because they weren't ready for me, which is fine, but that's not what I signed up for, and that was not what I was supposed to be doing. Actually, the CEO did hit me up to talk to me, but the first time we had a conversation, we ended up having to fix the Wi-Fi because the Wi-Fi went out. In that conversation, while we were working, like, he asked me, he was like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, I'm fine, blah, blah. And he was like, so what do you think? Like, what are some suggestions you have? And I mentioned the fact that as an online business, they don't really have a strong web presence or online presence, and their social media had been updated since, I guess, the last intern. And I noticed that the information on their website, especially since they were posting job positions and openings, wasn't updated. Like, it had been the same since the last time I had checked before I came to Japan. And so I was like, you know, you're an online business. I think that you would benefit from a social media calendar and schedule, like Hootsuite or something like that, because if you guys are busy, you can just put all your stuff in there and it'll automatically like send it out. And he got a little short with me, and essentially he was like, yeah, I understand, but we're not going to do that, and we're not doing that currently because time is money and money is time, and I'd rather have my employees focus on making calls and trying to get, you know, new people on instead of wasting time on social media, which, you know, I kind of brushed it off. I was like, okay, we ended up fixing the Wi-Fi eventually, you know, no big deal. So I go back to making these videos. So I continue to be asked to do tasks that I don't have information for. I was told to update information, but like information for placements, but I wasn't given access to these things, and I wasn't told what information needed to go in these, even after asking several times, hey, I noticed this was on this list and you asked me to do this, but what information needs to go in here, etc., etc. And I asked this several times. Throughout my internship, and it was never answered, like, ever. I would love to do this for you, but I've never done this before, and although I know how to use this software, I don't know what information you'd like me to put in here or anything like that. I kept making videos. Eventually, I was able to start posting the original content that I had been, making for social media for some of the accounts because I finally got access to some of them. And I'm just like to say, I really feel like everything was super disorganized because I wasn't told. My first week, I guess I was supposed to do some sort of reflection paper or something like that, but I wasn't told that I was supposed to do a reflection paper. And I was messaged or emailed like, hey, where's your essay at? And I'm like, what essay? Like, no one informed me I was supposed to do an essay. So I ended up doing 2 for my second week, and I was told that they were supposed to have comments, suggestions, and just, me reflecting on my experience, and that we were supposed to go over them, all of them. They're supposed to be one for each week. We were going to go over all of them at the end of my internship. Now keep this in mind. I'm supposed to do these papers, and we were supposed to go over them at the end of my internship. We were supposed to debrief all this. So I write mine for the first week. Didn't really have much to say. I did state that I was highly disappointed that I showed up and no one was ready for me, and that was a really stressful situation for me, because I'm not used to this environment, and I was I was low-key disappointed, honestly. So, and then I was like, I don't really have any suggestions because I'm getting used to this place. So I don't really have any comments other than that. So the second week comes around, and like I said before, had a small conversation with him about the Wi-Fi and about a social media calendar. So for comments and suggestions, I put in my essay, I was like, I know that we briefly spoke for the first time, and you mentioned that the reason you don't do social media is because it takes time away from employees reaching out to potential clients, etc., etc. But I expressed that because they are an online business and that they reach out to people, through the internet and online and social media, that I felt that it was imperative that they had a strong social media and online presence, because that's the first thing people see. If you're an online business, someone Googles you, that's the first thing they're gonna see is your social media account and your website. And I expressed that although, they're doing okay business-wise, they could be doing so much better if they had consistent social media and they, updated their website information. And if D felt that, it would take time away, having me fill out a social media calendar, and using a scheduler like Hootsuite or a CoSchedule, would really help them out, because they could still keep on doing what they're doing, and the post would automatically post by themselves. You won't have to worry about it. And yeah, so apparently that did not go over well with him, because instead of waiting till the end of my internship to discuss my comments and suggestions, I think I pushed some buttons, and he ended up calling me on a group call with A. So D, A, and I had a Slack call, and right off the bat, he was up in arms. I was honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I've never experienced anything like that from an adult. Let me say that. I've never experienced anything like that from an adult in a workplace or a professional setting. So he calls, and I'm essentially being attacked for expressing my opinion when I was told to give this information. I'm told that they want this information and they want me to provide my perspective on their business and their practices and what I see that they can do to increase, their gain in this whole exchange. And so he asked me to explain myself, and while I'm explaining myself and like why I think it's imperative and why it's important, he cuts me off and he's like, essentially, I don't need you to like try to sell me on this, and which I wasn't trying to do. I was just, explaining as he asked me to why I felt that way. And he essentially was like, you don't know what you're talking about because you're an intern. Yeah, so that hurt. Keep in mind, he doesn't really know anything about me. He didn't ask me anything, but from my perspective, I'm like, why would I say something just to say it? Like, I didn't go to school, for public relations to be told I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm an intern. And granted, he doesn't know this about me. He might just think that I'm just an intern. But essentially, he's like, all you guys think is like social media is just not what this business is about. Like, like the business doesn't survive solely on social media, which is fine. Like, I understand that, but if you're going to be an online business, you need to have a strong online presence. Like, I just could not comprehend what I had done to come off like that, because I suggested that he schedule social media posts. Like, so, I was respectful during the call. I was just like, I understand, and I just let him, get it all out. I had nothing to say. We ended the call, and yeah, so we ended the call. He was just like, you're an intern, you don't know what you're talking about. And what I've been doing, I forgot to mention, essentially he also was like, what I've been doing has been working for me for such and such years, so like I don't really need to change anything. But the thing is, just because something is working and it's doing good, you're trying to grow, and I'm trying to help you grow. Like, you're doing good, but you could be doing great. Like, you're here, but you could be up here if you just, put in that time and effort to like expand on your social media and just update your information regularly. It doesn't even have to be like every single day. It could be like every 2 or 3 days on your website and social media, like, just schedule it. So I'm just, listening to him, and I'm just sitting there and listening to him, because it's like, at this point I said what I had to say. I don't have anything else to say. You clearly have something that you need to get out, so I'm just gonna listen. And we end the call, and as soon as we end, the second supervisor, she hits me up on Slack and she's like, I'm sorry, can we have a call? And I'm like, later, and I'm like, sure. A little bit over halfway through my internship, so she's apologizing on behalf of this man, and I'm just like, She was like, what he did was rude. I'm like, yeah. She's like, is there anything I can do to like make this up to you? And I'm like, honestly, at this point, I'm halfway through. I haven't even been doing most of the stuff that my contract said I was supposed to be doing. And at this point, I'm just like, there is nothing that you can do. Like, I appreciate you and the work that you've been doing. You and the other employees here are nice. Like, you're nice, but like, it's a little too late to be trying to, do something like that. Like, I've been here, I've been asking questions, I've been trying to do things, and it's too late. I think I told her, I don't think there's anything to do. I'm just here to do whatever I need to do and dip. Like, I'm sorry that this is how this turned out, and I know you're sorry this is how it turned out, but that's the reality of things. This is not the best experience, and I'm not going to like sugarcoat it and pretend that it is. And she understood that, which is great, and we kind of moved on from that point. They're like, okay, you have to do a final project before you leave, and it can be anything you want to do. So I'm like, okay, I'll make a video for you guys, like a promotional video that you guys can show at events, and I like to do a social media calendar and schedule social media posts for you because, you know, that's what I'm here for. And so, you know, that's how I ended up spending the rest of my internship time, doing that. Because I dealt with so many issues with like trying to get account information, all that stuff, I ended up updating their social media manual and adding some new information in there, which is good. So I ended up doing 3 essentially major projects and just making videos. I don't feel like I learned any new professional skills, which is fine, you know, because I got to use the ones that I already have. And one of the bigger things that really ticked me off, I think, about this whole experience is that D, once he returned for the last full week that I was there, he kind of just like kept trying to brush off the fact that I was having a terrible experience, or that I had a terrible experience, which sucks. And I was told even after I left, because, you know, I made some friends, that he was kind of like trying to play down the fact that I had a crappy experience, which for me sucks, because, you know, like, you should be able to take criticism, and if you messed up, which in this case you did, like, just own up to it. I would have appreciated a genuine, sincere apology about my experience, but I didn't get that. And in the end, we never spoke about any of my other essays. We never had like a whole little debriefing session or anything, so I never got to speak about my experience to them both, D and A. I mean, D and A. I never got to speak on my experience to D and A about my time at the internship overall. And that's quite honestly sad. And yeah, so I decided, you know what, if I didn't get to speak to it, I guess I can make a video so you guys can know about my experience. But yeah, I am very sad about it. And honestly, I would leave a review on like Glassdoor or, you know, other sites, but I feel like if I do that, there might be backlash to the employees that currently work there, if I do, honestly. And that's why I decided to just make a video, which sucks, because, you know, I feel like people have a right to know, like, about my experience, you know, and I don't feel like it's fair that I didn't get to express myself because someone was afraid of hearing a negative opinion. And I think the big takeaway from all this is I learned about a toxic work environment, and I learned how to handle situations in one, and how to navigate around a boss who needs a compliment sandwich, and how to, you know, just go with the punches of the real world and business. And when you have to work someplace that you don't necessarily feel like your talent is being used for. And there were other aspects of this job that I just didn't like. For one, D didn't really take well to criticism or suggestions from employees, not even just internship employees. And I noticed that a lot. And after my big conversation with him, where he essentially told me that I don't know anything because I'm just an intern, and all that jazz, I was told that that was not the first time that he's spoken to his employees like that. In fact, he has done it before, and he's even made some of them cry, and he's even spoken to some of his clients that way. So knowing that, and knowing that A apologized to me, I'm like, so he must be very condescending a lot for you to apologize for him. And I was also informed that he used to be a lot worse, so yikes. Yeah, so I guess I got the better end of that stick in the long run. But some other things I noticed too is just a lot of his employees were females, and there was one other male. And he has standards for work, but I noticed as I was observing, he treated his female employees with more sternness than the one male employee, especially when it came to inputting information into their database and stuff like that. He was a lot less strict with the one male employee that he had, and I felt that was really unfair. Like, if you're going to set a standard, I feel like everyone who is working for you should be put to that standard. And just because you identify or you feel like one employee is like a younger version of yourself, or they have qualities that you have in yourself, I don't feel like that should determine how you treat them in the workspace, And I was there during the time where some of the employees actually spoke to him about that, and they were like, hey, we don't feel like this is right. And it honestly just fell on deaf ears, and that broke my heart, because I'm like, you guys are here and you love this job, but you're not being treated with fairness, and that was frustrating. I was disappointed with my internship, and I say that now after like really being able to like process everything and think about it, because for some time I was pissed. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like I felt that I had wasted my time, and that they had wasted my time, and they wasted their time, because they essentially brought me on board and they didn't give me what they said they were gonna give me. And I felt like I was just doing busy work. Like, they just gave me busy work to do when I was essentially promised through a contract so much more. And for me, I'm the type of person, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I feel like if someone else, especially when it comes to business or professional setting, if you say you're going to do something, you should deliver, or at least compensate, or at least give a heads up, like, hey, sorry, or at least an apology. If I had gotten a genuine apology after all this, I would have been okay, like, but that didn't happen. So, and that's life. But like I said, I reflected on it, and I'm more so just disappointed, because I feel like I wasn't used as I should have been, even after, giving my input and addressing like that issue. It still didn't change anything. Yeah, it was an experience, and it's one I'll never forget, and it will definitely stick with me as I go on with my post-grad life, and I look for jobs and more internships, and just trying to find myself. So thanks for watching, you guys. Appreciate it. Bye.